Hello to you all. So I know that this innovation topic is lengthy and wide. We will try to compress it under 50 minutes or so. I believe we'll have some time for the questions. So you can scan the QR code thingy up there. It's Swido, as I was told. So the main thing about the panel is that we will try to shy away from specific crypto, Web3 or AI craze stuff, and we will talk more about the overall tech evergreen topics, so to say. The panel will have two parts. First, the smallish part will talk shortly about the history of tech innovation, because this will impact the second part, where we will talk mostly about future and optimistic stuff and a lot of functions and UX stuff. So let's start with Anna. I know you are a seasoned startup and infobip.
Not quite.
He didn't tell me. He'll tell this. Yeah.
So we had a period from around 2008 until 2021 where there was like a lot of craze, free money market, move fast, break things, fake it till you make it. Mark Zuckerberg famously said, move fast, break things. So what are your thoughts about this innovation timeline, innovation period? Is this the right way to build tech products? And what was missing inside this free money period?
Well, so far I've been kind of present in three different contexts when it comes to startup environment versus corporate environment. And back then, 10 years ago, when I was a founder of a startup or two, it was all about, you know, how fast actually you are. And we were kind of very much focused on the United States and what's happening there and what kind of dynamics they create there and what kind of money they raise and how can we raise that kind of money. All the entire ecosystem was built around, you know, raise investments, build products, launch them, build new, launch them, exit, do this, do that, sell, IPO. And it was, you know, and we were here in Europe in I would say one way or another in a bit slower paced environment, and looking at what's happening in Silicon Valley and trying to be there and trying to be that, and was a pressure which somehow I think evolved through time.
Was it toxic pressure or healthy pressure?
From my perspective, it's more of a bad type of pressure than because it's never fast enough. It's never enough money. It's never, you know, enough customers. And when Mark was kind of talking about like move fast, break things, I figured, you know, there are two perspectives on that. One thing is how you organizationally set things up in order to be faster and in order to be kind of in contact with your customer in a kind of in a better way. That's one thing. The other thing is, you know, what was the quality of the product that you actually put out there to the market?
Yeah, but what was missing in the product-wise terms during this period?
I think it's you know, it's that pressure to be out there yesterday actually one way or another impacts the quality of what you're bringing to the market, and you're so laser focused on being there tomorrow that it actually is not that important what you are bringing out there to the market. And then when you multiply that by thousands and hundreds of thousands, then you create a mess, you create a chaos, and you create something that is not sustainable.
Excellent. So we will now switch back more for the Web3 world. So during this period of time, so as I said, from 2008 to 2021, we had what is in Web3 or crypto world called like price innovation cycle. So, Soraya, can you maybe elaborate to the audience what it is? Why is that a feature of crypto? Is it still relevant? Is it good or bad?
Yeah,
Sorry. Režija, može li samo ovaj graf price innovation cycle? Super.
Oh, fantastic. We've got a diagram which shows a little bit more about it. I mean, I think the way that I would see it, to put it really simply, is that there's a correlation between interest and price. And we've definitely seen that with crypto. So if we take a step back, crypto is obviously, particularly, let's say, NFTs, for example, they're a great example of something that's unique and scarce. And with scarcity comes speculation, which in another way, shape or form also increases price. I think we've definitely seen this over the last couple of cycles within the market. There have been bull runs and now we're in a bear market. However, I typically like to not talk about crypto prices. I think it's very dangerous. And I think Anna actually mentioned something earlier, was saying it's so easy to become laser focused on doing something today that you wanted to put out tomorrow. And actually, let's actually take a step back and really understand what are the use cases, what value are we actually adding to the crypto ecosystem by launching new projects and protocols, rather than being laser focused on prices, which are market, in some ways could be market speculation, in some other ways are not a tangible way to assess true value.
So the whole idea was that media is talking about prices, about Bitcoin price, the ETH price and everything, and then we have some uptick in mass adoption, and then this mass adoption creates new startups, onboards new devs, and then these devs create new functions and new protocols. Okay, so when we talked earlier, what was your opinion about, is this price innovation cycle still relevant or not? Do you think, are we breaking apart from it?
I think we're definitely breaking apart from it. I think this is because we've needed to have crypto or blockchain come into the human consciousness. We're now seeing the media, they're still picking up stories around the prices. However, I encourage a lot of people to really try and read beyond those stories and understand what some of the largest banks in the world are entering this space. And this isn't being reported on. The bank that you probably keep your assets in most likely are launching a digital assets team, and they're looking at ways in which they can leverage blockchain technology. They're looking beyond the price and they're looking purely at the technology that can be offered. And I think we're in a fortunate position where we've transitioned and we are in this space where the crypto price innovation cycle, I think, we're slightly more removed from. There's huge opportunity, but that also relies on you educating yourself.
Okay. Excellent. I mean, so Belma, the conference organizer from Alice in Blockchains, wrote a great piece for Netocracy. I believe it was 2 weeks ago or something like that, where they stated clearly that crypto or Web3 needs to break away from the media covering only the prices and only the bad actors post-mortem. So this is a question maybe for Ivana. I know you are also a lot of years now at Nova TV, which is basically a Croatian mainstream media company or European mainstream media company. Can you elaborate more on why media is overly focused on crypto prices and bad actors, but bad actors only post-mortem, so after the FTX collapse, after the Celsius collapse, after the Terra Luna collapse, so the media talked about them then. So what are the inner workings of a media outlet and why is that so?
So I would say that in the media is really, this is the topic that media is covering more and more. Talking locally on a Croatian level, for sure we are free-to-air national television and majority of our target audience really doesn't understand the topic. And basically that's the problem. We have the responsibility to, of course, educate and inform as one of our roles. And we as a multimedia company, we are owners of lots of portals and TV channels. We take this role quite seriously. About majority of the socially responsible, whatever topic that is. But for us, this became very hot theme, I would say, and we strategically decided to somehow try to play this role of somebody who is trying to serve people with always a little bit of more information that they are prepared to listen. Because otherwise we are just ending up with clickbaits, with I don't know, somebody lost this amount of the money or the price went up like this. So this is always the headline that works, But on the other hand, even being the part of this conference and lots of similar conferences that we are trying to cover in region, we are trying to educate ourselves, our internal workforce, and of course people who are somehow part of our audience on television or on digital.
But I mean, how is that working? Because I'm seeing not a lot of the Web3 coverage on Nova TV, for instance. So what are the inner workings? So why are we not seeing good Web3 actors or good Web3 startups on Nova TV?
Don't blame me, please.
Okay. I know that you're not the representative of the media.
I feel like ambassador of the team in my company, so somehow I'm offended. But for sure, that's true. There are always the change is really a different. It's a difficult thing. We need to be patient. When I first started with this strategical project of ours. Everybody thought that I'm quite losing my mind. It's always quite easier to cover some other topics. But I think that we are now in this technology revolution. We need to change ourselves and adopt new things. This will take patience. It will take time for sure. But the first step is not like I have this urge, to jump and solve everything. But this is not how it works. You need basically to educate the management of the companies, the media companies itself. They need to try this product. They need to be aware and present in Web3. When they gain some experience and some knowledge about it, then they will try to cover that in a more, I would say, educated and more aspiring way. And that's the idea. The idea is, somehow to create environment that people are not afraid of, because I have the impression that majority of at least business community, because you are here more or less working or being part of some Web3 story in your business environment. I'm working in non-Web3 business arena.
All
being,
sectors, yeah.
Being for the people are afraid of the changes, as every change for sure. But it takes some time, and it's our responsibility to bring those topics. They are not read well. People don't like to hear about them, but that's changing, A year ago, really, this was, when we called our, news director and told them, okay, we are part of these conferences, we want to talk about tokens. They're like, oh, come on, nobody wants to hear that in, everyday news. People are interested in politics, floods, wars and things like that. Okay. Now we have really, I would say, decent coverage of the topic. We are covering those things through our everyday news. We're talking about these topics. We organize lots of these internal educations, but it's slow. It's much slower than it's in your world, I would say Web3 world, but it's going and it's inevitable. I think whichever media will be prepared to deliver this kind of, understandable story about Web3, because, the context and the mindset needs to be changed. It's not the easy change, then they will basically live on sustainably long, because otherwise the media will be consumed also in a different way. Yeah. It's a question of, surviving for the business, I think.
Of course. So, Marijana, you have great experience in building a fintech product. So you have led the LACO application, right? The whole process. Yeah. So what is your take on educating the whole market about the innovation that LACO introduced?
Yeah, it was tough. It is tough, even today, because we created 100% digital insurance in Croatia, and even now we need to educate people how to pay, how to make 3D secure for paying with a bank card. So it's not easy, but every day we are making a difference. We are changing the mindset of the Croatian, that the policy, you don't need to go anywhere. You can buy it digital, and it will come to your email, and it's good, it will works with that.
But this is also the opportunity for the companies to position themselves as the players of innovative new world.
Yeah, okay, but what is Marijana, in your opinion, what is the biggest innovation opportunity currently in fintech regarding the Web3 world? What do you see as like opportunities lying around?
For me, it will be the exchange of the data without intermediaries. So this will lead to multiple applications to all industries, including fintech and insurance industry. We can create as a businesses something new, let's say on-demand insurance or peer-to-peer insurance. And for customer, it will be easier access to data because they will be owner of their data.
Of course. So when companies like, for instance, Anna's or Marijana make some promises about innovation, can Anna, you talk about, so what is the difference between moonshot innovation, which is like ambitious but reachable innovation, and total bullshit innovation, which company, when it says something, they know that they will not be able to do. So what is the difference?
I think that the major difference lies in this degree of responsibility that you have towards the ecosystem and towards the stakeholders. And this is, I think, when I talk about the evolution of innovation and what Soraya was mentioning in terms of, you are there for tomorrow. You are there for like today, for tomorrow, then tomorrow, then tomorrow. And then, of course, then all of that is very short term. And there's a lot of then breaking stuff around you, which you do not think about when you are laser focusing on whatever. And when we think about like moonshot innovations and being responsible when you claim that you will do something and when you even believe firmly that you will do something, that you take into consideration like what it means for your actual customer, what it means for your investor, what it means for the regulators at the end of the day that kind of are not maybe somebody you should be afraid of or somebody you will worry about tomorrow or somewhere in the future, but really kind of to take all of that. And then when you consider like all of that in advance in terms of, again, what you mentioned, like the value that you are, actual value that you are bringing on the market, I think that then you become kind of close, you get closer to this real moonshot innovation that is less bullshitting, but more of a real kind of sincere ambition that you are chasing.
Yeah.
Just kind of take a look around and take a look at how whatever you do impacts the stakeholders around you. And I think that kind of centralizes you a bit in a good way.
But yeah, I mean, Soraya, so how would we need to structure future teams to avoid bullshit innovation? Because we have seen, I intentionally started to talk about 2008 until this period, because we have seen a lot of bullshit innovation.
Yep.
So startup founders saying that they will provide something to the market basically for free or for some cost. This was basically BS. So how do we structure Web3 teams, AI teams, web teams to minimize the generation of bullshit innovation?
I'd say the time is now, firstly. Secondly, I'd say there are a lot of buzzwords, Web3, NFT, AI, that particularly last year you were seeing people place them within their pitch decks or within their business offering as a way to attract investors. Now the market's quietened down. The people that are actually there to build, actually there to contribute to the wider ecosystem are the ones that have stayed. And the people that were there purely just to, try and attract some attention or build a hot, sexy product where they could potentially get investment, they either weren't able to get investment or they actually weren't really meeting the need of the customer. So if we're thinking about, okay, how are we structuring teams? Firstly is around education. So if you have a strong belief that Web3 is the future for your business or AI is the future for your business, educate yourself and also educate your team. I think that's step one. Step 2 is making sure that you can have senior stakeholders, either within your organization or within your sales process. If you're trying to sell to a company, have a senior stakeholder who can really help shape out the product. Because it's so easy to come up with an idea, but if you don't know what your value is, if you don't know the pain point that you're solving for, you will never be able to replicate and sell that in the future. And then thirdly, I'm a salesperson, so I think it's important to have a commercial person as involved in this process as early as possible, because they can really help you shape out what the product looks like, where it's innovative, but it's also a product that you can replicate and you can scale and you can sell. Obviously, if you're not a non-profit, but if you are, if you're looking to build a business and you're looking to potentially be this moonshot innovation, you need to have repeat customers. So get a salesperson in pretty early, work out what your go-to-market strategy looks like, educate yourself, avoid buzzwords unless you truly, truly, truly believe they can help solve for a pain point.
And have like a sales team right from the start.
Not even a sales team,
Okay.
one person.
Okay.
One person who has maybe an expertise within that particular area. So it could be a salesperson that has experience in AI, salesperson that has experience in hardware technology, and help them understand your product. But also they can give you a lot of insights. It's so easy to separate engineer and product from sales, but actually salespeople were pretty good. Like, we understand the market quite well. So work with us earlier on in the process and you'll see results much sooner.
If I may just add briefly, I'm not a salesperson, but I'm really kind of voting for kind of commercial, whatever commercial means, but it's kind of non-engineering and non-product and non-research in the team. I currently work in a company that is trying to transform itself into kind of a composable organization, like composable enterprise that actually evolves around that ideas that need different skill sets end to end to be brought together in a room and given time to produce and to test and to iterate and to kind of make sure that whatever product they are launching really has that point of value and that point of solving a problem, because that then transfers into the revenue, the gross profit or whatever we are chasing at the end of the day.
But do you think that the next big thing will come more from the top-down approach from centralized big companies, or are we seeking more that the next big thing will come from a couple of guys, a couple of girls doing something in their garage,
Well, I really don't think it's mutually exclusive. I really think that, taking advantage of the ecosystems that big enterprises have around themselves and the skill set and the funds, whatever they have, and trying to encourage this entrepreneurship in a best possible way. I think it's an amazing combination to kind of to create even the next big thing. So I don't think it's necessarily reserved for garages and startups. However, I've been there and I know that having that kind of freedom and not thinking about a lot of things, but how to solve whatever problem you're trying to solve, puts a lot of advantage towards startups and garages. So I'm kind of, I wouldn't bet on one or the other, but the point of collaboration there, I think is underutilized. And I think that, we can do much, much more together, but we somehow kind of need to find a way to make it happen, because there's like slow enterprises, then,
Marijana,
this is the story like 10 years old.
Yeah. So Lako is also like a startup inside Croatia Osiguranje.
Yeah.
So what are your thoughts about this? Like small, nimble teams doing something inside a big company?
Yeah, it's good to be in a big company because you have some background. So we launched Lako with diversity of the team members. So we have technology-based knowledges and experience in that point of view from different industries. And on the other hand, we have expertise and specific domain knowledge from the insurance company. So the best of the both worlds led us to reach and to launch the new project. So it's good to have, let's say, like a small startup in the big company that will have the both of the worlds. Like Anna said, it's not good or bad in either way, but combining these two things can achieve something big.
This is great, because when we talk about best of the both worlds, so let's talk more about Web 2 and Web 3. So how would Anna and Marijana's company, like big companies that are doing a lot of development, a lot of software, a lot of engineering, how will you marry with Web 3 world, which is basically open source, transparent, open, smart contracts are totally open, data is open. You need to share, you need to open source your projects, you need to integrate your projects with Web3. So how would that work? What are the challenges? What are the bottlenecks? Anna, can you start?
I mean, Infobip is a platform, so it's I don't see any better place to start than taking advantages of being a platform, a communication platform, and then we go an omni-channel communication platform. So it's kind of a focus in terms of customer experience, trying to bring this frictions that we currently see today to the minimum, trying to make sure that there is some kind of a seamless end-to-end. We heard a lot about experiences these 2 days, a lot about how Web3 actually brings that experience to a whole other level, regardless of, you are a person and you want to have an experience. Is it Web 2 or Web 3? It should not matter in that sense. So you have, and this is what I see in terms of using the communication and that we currently leverage in terms of how do we orchestrate, how do we help brands make these experiences frictionless. I see that as an evolution. Like I see Web3 as a very natural evolution for these types of companies as well, without the kind of very strong need to bring this together in a way that's not natural.
But how would companies? So Soraya, you had a talk about this similarly, that companies need to give away ownership from themselves to the community and people. How would that work?
So I would split this up. Firstly, I think the way that Web3 specifically, the way that naturally we talk about Web3 is in very much engineering terms. So I think it's very difficult for companies to want to even give parts of themselves up or parts of their brands up when all we hear about Web3 or blockchain is just very, very technical. And the way I describe it is, we're in the engine of the Rolls-Royce at the moment, and actually we just want to be driven in the Rolls-Royce. That's the direction that we want brands to also feel. They want to have an incredible customer experience for their customers. But then in terms of brands actually giving up parts of themselves, it's not giving anything up. It's about you creating a much stronger relationship with your customer base, where actually there's a value gap at the moment where your customer base is giving you a lot of their time and a lot of their attention, but they're not being rewarded by it. They're giving you their data and they're not being rewarded by it. So actually Web3 repositions the role of the customer and the relationship with the brand. And it's a huge opportunity for you to create value, which is currently lost in the middle, to actually build stronger relationships, rebuild trust, enable the customer to actually own their data, and also enable customers to shape the future of your brand and be rewarded.
So Ivana, can you share some of your moments from media company sharing their IP, sharing their work towards the artists, or
how usually when you are responsible for marketing, you are more or less one of your roles is somehow to guard your brand, and there are quite strict brand manual directions that you can do, or you shouldn't do this, you should do that, and majority of creative agencies are still working and it's still thinking like that. So This is a challenging part for brands anyhow. Some of the brands did that perfectly, understood that a few years ago, like Adidas, and some of them who are basically really gave people the ownership because people love them. You know, the idea of every brand is to have this emotional connection. And we also want to have emotional connection with our viewers. And for the media, it was always a one-side story because they didn't have this engagement part before digital. After digital, they started to have this engagement part, but also not knowing basically who is part of their story. So some of my experiences are, I really had a strange talk, you know, when first I had this role to guard a brand as itself, and one of the ideas that team came was basically to build some, I would say, artificial Web3 community, giving artists opportunity to somehow do some shape your brand in their way, how they're thinking, like a la Picasso, a la this, or some, I don't know, street artist to create from your brand some art, to make them NFTs or to give the ownership to your, I don't know, most loved viewers or whatever. And there was this was part of one project, and I think that this meeting was one of the strangest meetings in my career because there were like 5 marketing directors looking at me like, but this is our brand. It needs to be red, it needs to be round, and nobody should, you know, do anything with it. It needs to be on this kind of a background. So this is complete blasphemy, you know, you shouldn't change. This is our brand, we need to guard him. And changing this mindset of the marketing and brand people, they need to give people who are basically loving and want to be part of your brand, and that's why they are, you know, interfering with you in every part. You need to give them the opportunity to have some influence, how it will look like, how it will behave. And this is the change of paradigm that is happening with this Web3 revolution. You know, it changes mindset of lots of businesses that are connected. Not only the media and the marketing or advertising or branding or whatever. It really needs to change this mindset that we need to give the opportunity to the people who are basically, you know, they are the ones we exist for. So you need to give them the opportunity to be part of that story. And this is, my opinion is not only the fear is the problem, but the opinion is insecurity. I'm not talking now about insecurity of the, I don't know, data or this much more serious stuff, but insecurity, you know, every business case, whoever is in business, they know whenever you have the project or idea, you need to have a business case in the end, and everybody expects some revenue or at least break even or whatever when you are doing on something, working on something innovative. But with this, you don't know what will be the result. You need to be prepared to jump, to try, to research, somehow to experiment in order to deliver maybe some value. But you know, if we do not experiment, I think that really all the experts of Web3 on this world basically doesn't know what are the results of that, and this is unexploited area, and this is perfect, this is exciting, and that's why this is what everybody are so excited about it. But brands and companies really need to have this, have to put in their mind, we don't know what to expect. We expect this or that, but maybe nothing will happen. Maybe we'll do the perfect thing. Nobody knows, but it doesn't matter, you know. This is anyhow something that we need to play with because the mindset of the people is changed already. This is happening already. We cannot ignore this, you know, otherwise basically we won't survive on the long term.
So Anna and Marijana, what are your thoughts about selling the experimentation R&D team to the big bosses?
Well, I don't have to do that, luckily. I've been in different environments where, and I absolutely agree, where, you know, there's a business case or there's no activity.
No case.
So yeah, it's kind of pretty simple. And then it depends on who's in charge. You know, it depends. There are some C-level people who are very much inclined to let you try and burn some money or whatever, however we call it, and then to learn from it. And I've met kind of different types of those. And there are those who are actually want the mathematics to work and are not kind of very much fond of any kind of experimentation. I today in InfoBip, it's you know, there's and I like to say that often, it's like if you have an idea that adds value, or you believe truly that it will add value to this business, at the end of the day, you are free to try. And this is something that, and there's two sides of the coin here, because, it's not it's not that, everybody will wait for you to come with the idea and then you will get like 100,000 euros and 700 people and then you're like ready to go. There's a lot of fight that needs to happen for you to really pave your way through to the result. But you are kind of the entire atmosphere involves around the experiments until we kind of make something work, and then there's the scaling part and stuff like that.
But it needs to be basically in DNA of the company.
Yeah, exactly. It's a culture. It's a culture.
It's a cultural thing. I agree.
If you need to sell it to, if there's a hard sell behind the R&D, then.
Then you think like this company will go bust because the whole culture doesn't have the whole experimentation part in its DNA.
For us, we have like 1,000 innovations in a year. We do in a production company. We do lots of innovations in everyday program. AI, types, artificial intelligence is something that is common in our production. Nobody knows that, but we're doing lots of stuff with these small things. But we don't have an R&D, Web3 team. It's, you need to be a company that can accept basically the fact that maybe you'll burn some money, as Anna said, but if you want to be an innovative company and position yourself, you need to be aware of that. And I think that companies like yours, and I believe mine and some of other companies in Croatia are willing to do that. Maybe it's not a big amount of the money, but...
What are your thoughts?
Yeah, for me, the crucial thing is support of the top management. And by that, I mean the member of the boards and the CEO. We launched a few months ago in Metaverse, a Laco Museum. So we didn't know how it will look like, what will be bringing to us. We know some part of it, but what will happen in the future, nobody knows.
But did you have some kind of KPI or some kind of metric of success?
No, just like internally one that we as a team set up for us, but without that, no. But
what was your internal wish of what would happen when you launched the
to be first. First in Croatia, first in Europe, to do something that will let us and give some different perspective of these things.
But from my perspective, this kind of project, and this is the perfect project, I saw that. This is basically what's happening. Majority of the brands wants to do that because of the PR possibility, because of the position, because they want to be first to position themselves as innovative company in Web3 world. And this is basically the reason why, the first one. And then afterwards comes basically maybe potential revenue, sales, or whatever they
But is this good?
I'm not sure, but it's good to try,
Is it good to be like pushing yourselves to be the first just for the sake of being the first?
For some of them, it's enough. I'm sure that they won't stop on that, But they
But
need to try something, basically.
let's talk real stuff now. So you have Rimac currently that is pushing to launch robotaxis in Zagreb on 2024. So Rimac is a local company here. Oh, okay, it's not local. It's based in Croatia. So they are pushing robotaxis, level 5 autonomy vehicles that will probably launch around 2024. So they want to be the pioneers. They want to be seen as a pioneering company inside Croatia region, stuff like that. The whole tech is basically BS, I will say it out loud, it's total bullshit. So level 5 is not working. Even level 2 or level 3 or level 4 autonomous vehicles are not working. And we now have a situation where the technology will probably directly impact, not customers, pedestrians, drivers, stuff like that. So is it always good to be the first? Is it always good to sell something to the whole community and region and to engineers of what they're building? And also, what is the media responsibility about this? Because I've seen that Nova TV has not covered this story in a critical way.
I think that world needs visionaries and needs to have people who are not who have the role to inspire. I don't want to talk about his business because it's really I don't have enough information and I don't feel comfortable about it. I think that he has idea And he has the means how to realize that. And people are really interested in that because they don't understand that. But on a higher level, if you go in details in the articles and interviews and see and read that, it's quite easy to understand that everybody are questioning themselves. But is this realistic? Is this clever?
But this is real stuff, you know. So he is getting 200 million euros for something that is not real, you know. So okay, we can talk about we need visionaries, we need good engineers, we need good teams, we need good products. But you know, some things are pretty real, you know, and some things are easily observable, seeable.
But you know, the
open.
responsibility of the media is to inform objectively. Okay. And nothing else. You are the one who is creating the opinion. And according to your experiences, context that you're living in or whatever. So it's not the role of the media, especially news, they investigate and they deliver the information.
But what if the media is not investigating?
But I can just talk from our perspective. We are really not putting anything on screen or on the portals that it's not bulletproof. Okay. One of the reasons is because this is one of our missions as a company, and we proved that really lots of times. On the other hand, everything, you know, we would be sued completely for every article that we do, you know, every day if we didn't do that. So there is also this kind of legal responsibility towards the information. I think that people are not... Problem is that he created this PR spin about his success and nobody goes further to that. And that's the problem. If you are interested party and you read, I don't know, go on our portal Dnevnik.hr and read 5 articles, it's quite obvious that it's a quite big question mark about long-term sustainability of his projects. But on the other hand, you know, we are not here to ignore people trying to move mountains, you know. It's not our role, you know. Each person has its own responsibility to educate themselves, to find the means to, you know, and to make their own impression. Because also, you know, there are lots of topics about that. For example, I don't know, we had this, Croatians, remember, we had this story about this Serbian Belgrade shooting in the school that was really, really emotional and hard to cover from the journalist point of view. Because, you know, they all tend to have these clickbaits and most read articles. And we took the we as media decided not to cover that in that way. We decided we don't want to push these stories because we think that this is having some social impact, that it's not good. Our role is not like that. We need to inform and that's it. We are not covering the story in the way how other media did. So each media decides on themselves, meaning that they have some kind of a goal. We are here for a long term and we want to take care about the people, and we think that we are responsible for one part of having a good society and the environment that we want to leave to our children.
Let's back to this topic of being first and second, you know. So for instance, in Web3 world, Ethereum was second, you know. So Bitcoin was first, Ethereum was second. In Web 1 world, Google was not first, no. So you had Alta Vista, Yahoo, so Google was basically third, if I believe. So is it really necessary to be the pioneer, or is it better to like build great products with great UX, Soraya?
Yeah, so I think the Bitcoin Ethereum comparisons probably aren't the best comparisons, to be honest, just because based on proof of stake and proof of work protocols, very, very different in terms of how Bitcoin and Ethereum work and what their actual purposes are. But I would like to say that we are no longer in the industrial revolution. We're in a new revolution, which is technological. And with technology, there becomes R&D funding. I was working on AI sensors back in 2017 that were being used to help autonomous vehicles navigate the roads. Money is being pumped into a lot of these startups because it can potentially revolutionize how we live. And it doesn't necessarily mean to say that every startup's going to be successful in terms of how they're being funded, or everything's going to be, because it's the first thing, it will be the thing that is here today or in the next 20 to 30 years. But what it's doing is it's forcing us to rethink how we live in society and shape the future of our society and the future of the world that we want our children to be brought up in a safer environment that's obviously has a sustainable lens, I think is also very important. But in terms of coming first, you need people to pave the way. You need to learn. If you're first, fantastic. If you're second, fantastic. You've jumped in, you've dived right in, and I think that's the most important thing. And I'd also add to anybody that's here today is that it's not too late to start learning about Web3. You're all here. You're not first. You're not last. And I think that's the most...
Great start.
Yeah, well, it's a great start. And you have all of this information. And also, you don't have to know how to code. You don't have to be a software developer. You don't have to be technological. You can add all of your skills across marketing, insurance, legal, media, in order to actually make an impact and have opinions on what the future of this technological revolution or innovation is within society.
So what do you think are the low-hanging fruit for Web3 innovation?
I see it as an opportunity for brands to build better customer experiences. I would remove revenue generation completely. And I think Lacko did a great job with your metaverse environment. I think it's about getting your customers to engage with you in different platforms, but also catering to a different demographic that perhaps you weren't touching before. And that's the opportunity, is you can actually really grow your user base. And you're seeing lots of brands finding ways in which they can engage with new audiences, but also bring their audiences along with them on the journey as a learning experience.
So Marijana, can you add something to that? What was your experience launching the whole metaverse? And what was the platform that you launched on? Is it Sandbox or Decentraland?
Decentraland,
okay.
yeah. But for me, I would just like to add, it's the value. It's the value that you are adding to the customer. So it's not only the selling the insurance, it's the experience, it's the value that you are bringing to the customer that in any type of or aspects of his life. So the value is crucial here. We are all thinking about the customer, but the value that we are bringing to them, it's important.
It's basically a new channel for new digital native generations. That's also one of the things that we shouldn't forget about.
Yeah. We were saying the same thing 10 years ago about Instagram and Facebook. And look at where we are today, where you're having a lot of ads going through Instagram, going through Facebook. Obviously, there's disagreement with actually the ad revenue and obviously our cookies being used. But this is a conversation we'll have every 10 years. It's about testing and things will become the norm.
So, Marijana, do you think it is possible that users will in, I don't know, 2 or 3 years have like one single app on their mobile to handle all of their finances?
Yeah.
So they will have on the front like their checking account, their insurance for car, house, everything, their savings and staking rewards, everything inside one app.
I think that it is here. It will be here very soon. So the things that we can do that by enveloping the new technological things and adopt these regulatory and stable financial things that we have for now. But all new things and technological solution based on the blockchain will help us
it's
to
really
do that.
interesting how banks are basically rushing, as I understood, basically in metaverse. But on the other hand, you know, you will be the one who will, I don't know, want to buy a flat or some kind of real estate, and there won't be bank interfering anymore. You could go in virtual bank, and there nobody is basically telling you cannot raise that money or buy that or do. So it's really interesting how this will be solved legally.
Yeah, but we have here one crucial thing. It's education. So if I own my own data, I need to be, awareness needs to be higher. We need to better educate the people that they are now in charge, and data privacy and all these things.
Soraya yesterday had a great talk about how brands can compose themselves on Web3 because, you know, smart contracts are easily composable and you can use data from one app to the second app. So is there a future where two totally different companies create one app for the user,
Yeah, definitely. I would position it as experience, because obviously our focus is on how we're adding value to the consumer. The best way that I would describe this is, for example, LVMH, that owns a whole host of brands. They're a luxury goods conglomerate. You can totally see a future where two of their brands, it could be one of their alcohol or beverage brands and one of their luxury fashion houses, are collaborating, and I can port a digital asset or a collectible that I have from, let's say, Louis Vuitton, and I can bring that over to Moe as well. So I think there's huge opportunity. Unilever, for example, another conglomerate, a great way for people to interact and engage with the brand in different levels. And traditionally, a lot of they wouldn't have this information as well. Unilever probably doesn't know that somebody's buying the washing powder that's also the same person that's buying the deodorant. And that's fascinating. Because I own the data, I can port between these different worlds. I think we're several years away from that, but it would be very fun and exciting to see and be part of.
Yeah. So Anna, what are your thoughts about this cross-company contribution to the Web3 of building like multiple companies, building one app?
I agree. I think it's the opportunities that Web3 gives you as a platform at the end of the day will only bring like new business models on the table, and I business models between different brands, and I think that in terms of as long as those two brands see the joint value they can bring and to everybody in the space, I'm looking forward to that. I think that would be a very, very interesting concept to be a part of.
But that means that the data basically will be the biggest, I don't know, we won't talk about money, we will talk about value of the data at the end.
Well, it's flipped, because I will own my data, and that's the beauty. Is we're completely transforming how brands are interacting with people, because the ownership is now on my side. I have control of it.
And you are aware of the value of your own data, and it's a monetary thing. It's a kind of it's worth something, and you are giving it aware of what you can get in return, which somebody was mentioning today is currently we are not there today at all.
Okay. So we have some questions from the audience. So the first one is it fair to say that project is scam just because project is failed?
No.
No, of course not. Yeah. Okay.
You tried, you failed.
You tried, you failed. Try again. So the second one, what would be the best advice for big or small business strategy to implement using Web3 in the smallest steps, especially on the EU market? You want to try?
Yeah, obviously be aware of the local regulations within your environment. That's really important. Get a lawyer involved as early as possible. Best steps are try, test things out, listen to podcasts, have a go at purchasing an NFT, potentially find ways in which you can leverage that in existing marketing campaigns. Just start really simply, or actually proof of attendance protocols, they're POAPs. So you can run a normal event in real life, you can get a QR code, people can scan the QR code, and with that they're minting an NFT. And I know that Near are here today and they're doing that very experience at their stand, so check that out if you haven't seen it. That's the perfect way to start. You don't need to do much heavy lifting, and it's a great way to really understand how people are engaging with Web3 from day one.
And starting with coding is really easy, like everything is open source. You have like a lot of open libraries, videos, YouTubes, whatnot. So it's like really easy. The third question is maybe more for Anna and Marijana. Is the move fast break things really dead? Big players are still pushing this approach as it brings them growth and the regulators can't really follow. This is a great question. Maybe Anna.
That's the one of the points that I was mentioning in terms of having in mind stakeholders goes to the regulation because yes, obviously businesses and their kind of ambition to earn more, to grab more, to expand is much faster than any regulation out there. And again, if we are moving to this more sustainable way of approaching the market and adding value to the market, then the regulation will be an essential part of it in the best way possible. And and this is something that this is why I think all of the talk that goes around the move fast, break things is done. Like, we are done with it. I somehow tend to believe that we really kind of are moving away from to this more inclusive ecosystem where regulation has its part, and it's fair to give them their part of the story. But it does not mean that all of us need to kind of sit down and wait until something happens. It's just like let's find some common ground how to coexist.
Marijana, do you want to add something to it?
No, I think also, as Anna, balance is important in these things.
Okay.
Find the optimal.
Yeah.
It's not the best, the most, the first, the whatever. It's the optimal, and then things.
But
should
we need
work.
to proactively seek the optimal.
Absolutely, absolutely, yes. So because without that, none of this. And then again, we listened today. It's like Web3 will not develop by itself. It's not something that we sit and then when you're here, let me know. Things don't work that way. Web2 as well, whatever. We need to be an active participant in all of that, but we need to find a balance. Yeah.
So I have one question that is on top of the mind of every person that is working inside Web3, every journal, every Web3 writer. So Soraya, what type of person is best able to translate the super complex technical value proposition of Web3 so that it's easier consumable and understood?
I think what type of person, somebody that is willing to learn, willing to be uncomfortable. Everybody has an ego. If you know the etymology of the word, we all have egos, but it's understanding your ego and knowing where to slightly put it aside, understanding what you don't know, and thinking of different diagrams. I think diagrams and models and pictures is such a fantastic way to leverage what we already know today to describe Web3. There are so many great people out there that you can definitely follow or listen to podcasts, but just keep on learning and you'll be surprised how much you're taking in. You'll be able to find your own analogies to describe.
Thank you. So that's basically it. I think a big round of applause is now for the panelists.